What up, guys? Welcome to a special episode. This is a Q&A episode for the Stud Muffin series. You guys submitted the questions. Ignore my cracked phone. I dropped it from my pocket the other day. Let's start with some personal ones. Dumb Young Punk says, how tall are you? Both of you. And why did I say tall are you like that? That was weird.
How tall are you?
How tall are you?
How tall are you?
I think in the morning I'm like 5'9", and at night I'm like 5'8".
Yeah.
Something around there.
So I think like depending on where I'm standing, typically I'm gonna be around like probably 6'1". But to most people, I think I probably look closer to like maybe 5'8", 5'7.5".
I see.
Yeah.
So if you're stepping on like 2 or 3 stools, it could be 6'1" pretty easy.
It depending on the incline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could ease 6'1", 6'2". I've measured 6'3" before.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with an average. So I would say 6 foot.
Sometimes when I'm standing at the top of the driveway, I'm actually taller than Gio.
That makes, yeah,
I
so
feel
I've seen
manlier.
that. I've seen that. You look good when you do that. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of driveways.
You should have her slouch more.
Yeah, I know. Get your ass down there. Okay, here's a fun one. Pablo Cabrera 24 asks, what's your favorite muscle group to train?
I think right now, probably back, just because we have a full pull day. So
Yeah.
by the end of that pull day, I'm just walking around like this,
Yeah.
but not on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, so it just feels nice.
Yeah.
And your biceps are all pumped up too, and you get that good posing in the mirror, your lats fill out.
And has that been like your favorite, like that's like always been your dessert to look at?
I think it always has changed for me over time, just also based on my weak points.
Yeah.
I like training usually what I think is, you know, what I need most work on.
Yeah.
So there was a point where it was legs, because I loved squatting at one point.
Yeah.
And that was actually barbell back squats. I really enjoyed doing that because I was going for like stupid, like different numbers, like rep range stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
just what weight I can hit. But yeah, now I'd say back.
I see.
It just rotates.
Mine used to be back. Now, because I'm getting leaner, I actually really enjoy arms and shoulders on the same day, which is exactly the way that we programmed
Yep.
it, because it's like kind of like nice to see kind of like all 3 parts just
Yeah.
get like a good pump.
I could see that being like a dessert day, you know,
Yeah.
like a little treat. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
go
it's
in.
like, and you can go ham on all 3, and it's not like you're exhausted or anything,
Yeah.
and you feel good. And then as you get leaner, you start seeing veins, because you don't really see veins across like your chest and all that stuff unless you're super lean, you know?
The
So you-
vascularity, yeah.
yeah, so you kind of see that like, oh, cool, like I too can attain that magazine look
Yeah.
on arm and shoulder day.
And I think there's just something about having pumped delts that just makes you look a lot more anabolic. You know, if people were to pick one muscle group to just really train hard to look
Yeah.
yoked,
Yeah.
delts help so much because they fill your frame out.
Yeah. All right, here is a good one for a more scientific, putting on my scientific hat, and so maybe you could take the lead on this one. Pranjal Devkota 2 asks, can you define the difference between working sets and warm-up?
Yes, absolutely. So working sets, and I'm sure you could also answer this very well. Working set is basically a set that is actually working towards whatever goals. So you're getting a stimulus out of that, whether it be for, you know, athletic training or hypertrophy or strength training, meaning that typically you're getting close to a failure point where you have the most mechanical tension in that movement that's actually going to be good for growth, essentially. So it's those reps and sets that are intense enough to stimulate whatever you're trying to stimulate, whether that's, you know, more strength, more muscle growth, in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, one thing I actually learned from you is before, like if I looked at a program and it said like, let's say 2 working sets or 3 working sets,
Yeah.
in my mind, I almost pick an arbitrary, okay, I'm entering into the working set phase.
Yeah.
But one thing that I learned from you that I really like, so for example, just to put numbers out there, like let's say if my typical working set is like, let's say 4 plates, for example. In my mind, I would still be in warm up until 4 plates.
Yeah.
And then, okay, my 4 plates, then that's the first working set, second and third. But what I learned from you is as you train, you actually get stronger, right? So instead of arbitrarily choosing it, there'll be times where like we take 4 plates and then smoke it.
Yeah.
Then you would go, well, let's categorize that as a warm-up set.
warm-up set.
Yeah, so like now that's something I really learned from you, where then you're like leaving the gym with true 3 working sets, because then maybe my first working set is now 4 1/4, another 4 1/4, maybe even 5.
Yeah.
Versus leaving the gym with 3 working sets, but but they're technically 405, and I've gotten stronger and I haven't adjusted that shift yet.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of, it's very actually simple, like progressive overload, but you just don't think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, this was hard for me a few weeks ago, so it's probably still hard for me.
Yeah.
So I like to think of those as warm-up / ramp-up sets. I don't like to think of it as necessarily an easy set, because my warm-up sets leading up to my full-on working sets are typically going to be closer to that working weight anyhow. And I just use that last warm-up set as kind of a gauge for what I'm going to be doing on my first working set. So for my last warm-up set may actually be one of the weights that I used for a working set a week or two ago. So I'll use that to test. And like you said, I'm not going to do the full rep range. So if we're doing like 5 to 7 reps, I might just do 2 reps. And if those reps fly, I'm like, yeah, that felt really good.
Just moving on.
Yeah, I know that, because I know how 2 reps moved before. So at that point I can go, yeah, time to up the weight and do a real working set.
I see.
Yeah.
Here's another question. Ralph GTRRZ. Is it sustainable to bodybuild while on keto? What are your thoughts of keto dieting to cut?
Do you want to, didn't you run keto for a little bit?
I've ran keto before.
You want to talk about your experience on that?
Yeah, so I would say majority of the research shows that keto is more beneficial for endurance athletes. So 2 of the most is like super long distance runners and a lot of special operations people, where they're gonna be in the field. Sometimes they don't even sleep for 3 days and they have to cover 50 miles on foot. That is, it's highly beneficial for your body to tap into ketosis, where it's now using your long-term stored energy, AKA fat, as your main source of energy. But in explosive strength, power sports, AKA strongman, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding, it has been shown that you need carbs, and carbs actually help you perform better in the immediate. So like the way I like to view it is, carbs is like, what is my energy source like now, tomorrow, or maybe even 2 or 3 days? And then fat is, what is my energy source like long term? And so in terms of bodybuilding, if your goal is to get as jacked, as strong, and progressive overload as possible, in my opinion, I would say maybe stay away from keto. And also where it says like, what are your thoughts of keto dieting to cut? A lot of people have shown drastic weight loss in the beginning on keto, but that's just because you're just dumping all your glycogen, right? And then so it's easy to get, oh wow, I lost 10 pounds in a week or 20 pounds in like 3 or 4 weeks. But overall, like once you start going to like month 3, month 5, month 6, when you don't have those carbs, but the program tells you to keep hitting RPE9, it gets more and more difficult. And my own personal take on it is, regardless of what diet you're on, if you're trying to cut, you have to track, right? Vegan, carnivore, vegetarian, you have to be in a caloric deficit. So to make sure you're in a caloric deficit and still hit the protein that you need, you have to track all your macronutrients. And food volume wise, because fat is 9 calories per gram versus carbs is only 4, you're just gonna have way less food to eat. And if you're someone that's like me, who loves food, I'd much rather have like 2 bowls of rice to power my workout than like 1 stick of butter.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I actually did keto for some of my previous preps, and I definitely felt the difference energy-wise, but it was also due to my training style as well. I was doing a lot of higher rep stuff, which is going to burn more glycogen throughout those workouts. So a lot higher volume, more sets, more reps, and I felt like absolute garbage. But in comparison to my previous prep, where I was basically doing keto, 1,500 calories a day, just straight, mostly proteins and fats for some weeks, very minimal carbs, just bare minimum fats too. So kind of keto, but it would just be mostly protein and fats. So I felt really good on that because we were basically training the way we are now. So less sets, less reps, the minimum amount basically needed to stimulate growth. And because I'm not using as much glycogen from those sets, I don't feel super drained because I don't have those carbs. So even while doing that, I still feel pretty good. But I would 100% agree that if you're looking to maximize performance, maximize growth, as a bodybuilder, powerlifter, anyone doing any kind of weightlifting, that carbs are extremely important. Me personally, for my clients, when I'm programming for them, especially in a gaining phase, I typically will always prioritize carbs over fats. So I'll give them the bare minimum amount, maybe a range where they can go a bit higher on some days, but otherwise we're increasing mostly through carbs, right? Because after you have that baseline fats that you need for hormone, you really don't need more than that. And carbs will likely do more performance-wise for you anyways, and I think look-wise as well to help you fill out.
Yeah, that's what most of the research shows, and it's been proven too that creatine actually even works better with carbs too.
Carbs in your system.
So if you're taking creatine, then you're gonna help the creatine out with carbs. All right, here's a fun one, and this one I think I have zero authority to answer. Iris Johnson wants to know what's the best calf exercise, and obviously I have zero calves, so I'm not gonna say anything.
So I don't like to say just like best exercise, but if we're gonna put a little umbrella over it, any kind of straight leg calf exercise, just because when the knee is straightened, the calf is more lengthened, and the calves have shown to grow really well from working at longer muscle lengths, which is also part of the reason in this program that we really stress a slower eccentric so that you can work into that deep stretch and then we pause there. Because a lot of people, when they're doing calves, a big issue is maybe they get into that full stretch, probably not, because most people are just bouncing out of the bottom. So they're just basically using their Achilles and just stretch reflex to bounce out of the bottom of that calf movement. And that's what I would consider the most important position. So yeah, any kind of straight leg calf exercise, you can do it on a leg press, standing, donkey calf raise, all solid.
I tried the donkey calf raise for the first time yesterday and it felt incredible. I think like being able to take out your second half of your body and just kind of focus on hips down.
Yeah.
There's like less stability, less like me having to worry about engaging my core and my aligning the load exactly over like my calf muscle. It was just right on pretty much my lower back, and it felt really, really good.
I definitely favor those calf machines that don't load the spine because it's just one less thing to think about.
Yeah. All right. Book Allen wants to know, what does your daily nutrition look like? This is one of the saddest questions ever because when you're on prep, it sucks ass. So right now, my calories is at 1,600. And so that roughly comes out, I know, I'm so sad. It's roughly about like 100, I think, or to 130 carbs or something, 130, 150 carbs. My fats are at like 30, really low.
Like
and then,
baseline.
Yeah. And my protein is at 190. And so now how I have to space it out is in the morning, I take a double scoop of my protein. And if you get the Barbell Brigade brown sugar boba, it is 0 grams of fat, 0 grams of carbs. So it's all protein. So it's 2 scoops. That's exactly, I think, 200 calories. So I'm already down to 1,400.
Yeah.
So now if you split that between 2 meals, that's already 700 and 700, which is not a lot. It's very sad. And if you're like me, I like to eat snacks.
That's an easy meal when you're in a gaining phase or not prepping for
Yeah.
Because gaining phase for you is just
Easy.
whatever.
I can go to like a diner and eat a 2,000 calorie breakfast.
That's a one drink at Starbucks and like a little cake pop. You know?
Exactly. So I wait usually until like 1 or 2 to eat lunch, try to push it back as much as I can. And these days it's either just a pile of chicken breast or a pile of beef patties. And how that helps me is if I can make my lunch small, then my dinner can be big. So instead of 700, I can have maybe 300 or 400. And then now I have like maybe even 1,000 at night. And then because I sleep much better like full. Mm-hmm. But usually it doesn't happen that way because I'll have my midday lunch and then I like to snack. So I'll eat like a bunch of pretzels and there goes another 100, 200 calories. So I'm back down to about
all your carbs for the day, basically.
Yeah, I'm back down to like 800. And then so now I just try to fill my plate up with as much veggies as possible. So these days I've been eating a lot of cauliflower rice.
Mm-hmm. I ate a lot of
which
that
like a giant bag like that is only like 10 calories.
If you go to Costco, they have like the individual packets, which are nice, because then you can just use the whole pack without having to really weigh it.
Oh, yeah.
I've been
eating that. And that's pretty much what I've been doing these days. And if I'm like if I can prep, I do enjoy like meal prepping because then I can make the food taste as best as I can. But if not, I actually order meal preps too, and I'll just open one of those bad boys, and I find the leanest one with the highest amount of protein, and I'll just dump the whole thing of cauliflower in there, and then mix it together. And like food weight wise, it actually sits pretty good.
Yeah, no, like going for higher volume foods is very smart in prep and cut in general.
Yeah.
One of the biggest mistakes I made on my first prep was I was having like granola bars and stuff, stuff like 200 calorie little granola bar like this when I could have had, cauliflower rice and like, veggies mixed in, whatever, for 200 calories.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Been full. But we're actually super similar. I like to save a lot of my calories towards the end of the day too.
I sleep better.
Yeah, so I actually haven't been eating a set amount daily. I kind of have a range that I set for myself. I try to eat, in a sense, as little as possible. And when I say that, it's not like I'm eating nothing. So that might look like anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 calories on my really low days, but that's only because I'll offset it, and on days that I know I'm really hungry, I notice my performance is starting to drop, I notice I'm getting cranky, hangry. Those are the days I'll allow myself to go up to 2,000 or 2,400 calories. So at the week's end, if you look at that, it's typically around an 1,800 calorie average.
Like a weekly average.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I do that is just because I found that it's a lot more beneficial for me performance-wise and mood-wise. Versus me just trying to just stick out a lower calorie average. It kind of gives me days to look forward to throughout the week, because I know it's like, oh sick, like I can have a lot of food today, and then I'll just tough it out the next day or something like that, right? So that's basically what I did here yesterday. I ended around 1,500 calories. Day before that we had sushi, it was bomb. I had 2,400, 2,500 calories that day. And it evened out nicely. And I felt really good even yesterday because I pretty much woke up full from eating so much sushi the night before anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, your goal is to find foods that are low in calories, but in lots of volume as much as possible. Like one of my favorite go-to snacks have been rice cakes, because visually it looks like it's a lot, but it's only like 70 or 80
Sometimes
calories.
Like 50 calories for some of them, yeah.
Yeah, and I eat that, and then I drink milk, and then I look at a can of Coke and pretend like I'm drinking, it's like jacking off, but with food.
Oh, one thing, so I literally did this last night, but the, what are those,
Greek yogurt?
The Greek yogurt?
Yeah.
I got the whole tub of that. It's 2.5 servings per tub. I just put a bunch of berries in that, and I ate the whole thing last night. It was like 50 grams of protein almost.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that left me super full before bed. It was like 200 grams of strawberries, 100 grams of blueberries in there. And yeah, just stuff like that. That was probably what, like, I think 350 calories, 400. And I was super full for the night. So little things like that versus wasting your calories on, say, like cereal,
Oh, dude.
Yeah. I could crush a whole box
Like
of cereal.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Jesus.
Put
Okay.
a little thing above our head when we were thinking about cereal.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's order some good ones. Okay, this is a good one. I feel like a lot of people experience this. Danny Win 03 asks, what do you do on days where you're exhausted and don't have motivation to train?
Personally, you're not gonna like this answer, but I probably just won't go to the gym.
Oh, really?
Because for me, I base a lot of my training around how I'm feeling performance-wise and energy-wise.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm at a point now where I have a good understanding of my body. And if I'm feeling really beat up, then I know I need that rest day. And it would actually be more beneficial for me to just take the day and then get back in the gym, train really hard when I'm feeling really good, versus trying to tough it out and have, just a crappy workout. But of course there's a range to that. Like there's a difference, I would say, between being tired and lazy and actually fatigued, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'll also take a look at, what did I train in the last, 4 to 5 days? Does this make sense for how I'm feeling right now? Or am I just being a pussy and should I go and hit this lift,
I feel like most people are definitely asking from a place of,
motivation.
If I'm being tired and lazy, like, what can I do?
Yeah. What you do is, and this is what I tell my clients, if you're just being tired and lazy, if you just get your stuff ready, get in your car and just go, sit in the parking lot. Once you're there, you're not leaving. You just made the drive over. And I've done that some days because there's some days I really don't want to go and I know I'm just being tired and lazy. Long day at work, but nothing super physical or anything like that. So I'll just go to the gym, I'll get in the parking lot, I'll put my playlist on, I'll just blast that, I'll sip my pre-workout, whatever. Have a little ritual for yourself to get yourself in the zone. Just little things like that. For me, once you feel the little tingles of the beta-alanine kicking in, I'm just like, yeah, I'm starting to feel amped up, ready to go. You put a hype song on, and then you just go crush your workout.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice I've actually heard, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually really good, is from Jocko. And what he said is, if you're tired, he says, so the first like blanket statement is, no one has ever been tired, finished a workout, and then not been proud of themselves. Generally, no matter how bad you feel, if you accomplish something, you immediately feel better. Yeah. And no one has ever gone, I'm tired, I go train, and after go, man, I regretted that. You know, it's usually, dude, that was not bad. Yeah. Not as bad as I made it in my mind. So he goes, because you know that, whenever you're tired, just go train, because you already know what's gonna be at the end of it. He goes, however, if you do ever feel exhausted, you go train and you go, that was a mistake. He goes, literally take a day off, or 2 or 3 or 4, because the times that will happen is actually so rare. But if your body really is telling you, then take some time off. But otherwise, I would say the ritual thing is super important, like getting in the car. So for me, I really enjoy looking forward to training now. Like I've been training for 2 decades now, so it's just part of me. It's like me brushing my teeth, taking a shit. So it's like if I don't train, it almost feels like I never showered.
Yeah, you make it routine, you make it habit.
Yeah, it makes it feel like a piece of me of missing. But now I'm able to relate again with a lot of people out there, because I'm starting a new thing, which is jujitsu. And so that isn't routine yet, you know? Yeah. It's not part of my daily habits. And the tough part is, with my busy schedule, the only time I'm able to train jujitsu is the 6 a.m. class, which means I have to wake up at 5 to go train. And so that I'm experiencing that new hurdle again. And then now I think I'm at the age where, you know, like throughout your life, you kind of like have little regrets. There's things that you're really proud of. There's things you're like, oh man, I could have done better. And what I've noticed now is, in my age where I'm like nearing my late 30s, going into my early 40s, I'm almost trying to correct all the things that I let myself down on. And those things are like very powerful to me. I'm like, oh man, like for example, like in wrestling, there was times when I was a kid that I would skip some wrestling practice, or in the military, I feel like I didn't give it my all. And I would think back, I'm like, man, my this career, my school career, my whatever career could have been that much more full.
Yeah.
So now I have that mindset where like every day that I wake up when I am going to jujitsu, and then I go, dude, this is fucking 5 a.m. Like we just trained really hard yesterday. Do I need to go this morning? And I'm like, do I want to let myself down? Yeah. And like that to me now has been like the biggest motivator, like me not living up to the potential that I think I could have.
That actually makes me think of like something that I'll do for getting ready to lift. And I do it without even thinking about it, and it motivates me a lot, is just goal setting every workout, right? So like for you, when we went to the gym the other day, you were like, I'm gonna hit 4 or 5 by 6 on squats. And you know, you're excited to do that. You're excited to try it. Yeah. So stuff like that gets me excited. You know, even on the days that I don't feel like training, like if I really have a goal in mind, like to hit a PR on a certain lift, or I just want to do a certain lift, like that's what gets me going to the gym. So I think like having that goal-oriented, you know, discipline in place is super important. So it kind of ties into what you're saying too, with, you know, having that goal in mind and then making it habit, but also just making sure that you have a clear goal in general.
Giving it a little bit of purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. Let's see, we'll go to the other page.
Yeah, because I do think a lot of people train kind of aimlessly.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's like a big goal or small goals. So if you don't have any kind of, you know, overreaching big goal, which I think most of you would, just start breaking it down into smaller stuff, like workout by workout. That way it's less of like a, oh man, like I have to do this workout, and more of like a, I get to do this workout to try and hit this goal, right? It's like little achievements in a video game.
All right, cool. Let's, we'll end with 2 of them. So the first one is, this is a fun one. Brandon JB asks, how fast can either of you run a mile at the moment?
Confidently?
Yeah. Like let's say they go, JP, you run it for this time.
Or you die.
Or you get $1 million.
Or you get, okay. And I think I could run a sub 8-minute mile.
Do people know that you're a former sprinter?
I might have mentioned it like once or twice, but dude, I did it for like 1 semester in high school, so I don't even like to call myself a former sprinter. Okay. Because I was, you know, like I was a sprinter, but I was also like very middle of the pack.
I see.
You know?
Yeah.
I didn't excel, or I didn't, you know, fail, but it was just okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think 8 mile?
I think I could do like a 7:30. Yeah, I think that would be pretty within reason.
I think if I went all out, I think I could hit a sub 7.
I wanted to say I could do that, but I think I'd be
I
lying.
think my best mile time ever was like 6 something. And the problem I think working against me is just I'm literally like 50 pounds heavier than when I ran that.
Yeah, me too.
And so it would just be like me willing my way like as much as I can.
Yeah, but
to
you're
get
good
there.
at running though.
I'm okay.
He's
yeah.
good at running. I think he could do it. Yeah, sub 7.
Yeah, but it would be cool one day, like I think a bucket goal thing is, they have the people that do like squat 500,
Yeah.
run sub 5. Like that would be like something probably in
Sub 5.
Yeah, in a few years down the line, I would love to train for. I think that'd be so cool.
There are people that do that.
Yeah, there's like a handful of, so at the, like CrossFitters, they like have multiple disciplines.
Yeah.
There's a handful of CrossFitters that can squat 500 and then in the same day run a sub 5.
The same day.
Yeah. They're literally doing it like 20 minutes apart.
That's insane, dude.
Insane, right?
Yeah.
But that's like peak power. Well, I guess you're splitting the mile, so that's peak power on both sides.
I'm gonna set that goal for myself somewhere within a 10-year time frame.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
badass. All right, so this one I like is good because I can see how a lot of people are kind of mixed up on it, and we'll end it here. Almighty Man says, for a powerlifter, which I know a lot of people that follow Barbell Brigade are powerlifters, do you recommend I do the Get Strong program or the Stud Muffin program? And those two are actually really different. So Get Strong is a specific program for peaking you for powerlifting meet. It's 16 weeks long and it follows like a linear progression. Stud Muffin, it's way more hypertrophy focused, and which is why both of me and JP are running it for a bodybuilding show. Is there like, in like a kind of summarized way you could explain like the whole purpose and goal of the Stud Muffins program?
So just tying it back into like powerlifting, I think that the people who would benefit from that, powerlifters in a sense, are the ones who are perhaps in the off season and want to pack on a bit of muscle just because that's so beneficial for powerlifting. I think that a lot of good powerlifting programs should have some kind of hypertrophy base somewhere within the macro cycle, just because, muscle is what's moving weight, right? So that's who I would use it for if you're a powerlifter. For everyone who is coming into the program, it's going to help with giving you a really good strength base because you can always go through that neural phase and build up your strength through that. And then we have the hypertrophy phase. So it's kind of an overall still hypertrophy program that has that strength base built in, just because I think that is very important. It's not something that I will always run, but especially if you're someone who's trying to get through plateaus, things like that, it's a great way of doing so. So it's a good overall general hypertrophy program that will help you with keeping up your strength and potentially getting even stronger at those big 3 still. So
Yeah, as a powerlifter, me running this program, what has been really cool is I literally hit a new PR last week, or this week actually. So at being sub 180, I hit 405 for 6 on the squat, which I think probably if I had to estimate is probably between like a 450, 460 squat or something, which is pretty good. I've never really been 170 something and hit something that heavy. So some of the things that I think I fixed that helped me with that is on our second leg day, we have single leg press. So like being able to really focus on the muscle for once rather than the movement, I think has transferred over. So like, yeah, like JP was saying, if you're looking for a program, if you're a powerlifter, you're looking for a program for the off season, I think this would be perfect for you. Or if you're just straight up trying to do a bodybuilding show, like I think both me and JP's physiques are
you want to
looking
get
pretty
strong
good.
and yoked, then yeah, this is a good program.
Thank you guys for watching this Q&A. We always love doing these. If you want to do another one, let us know in the comments below. And if you want to run the exact same program that me and JP are running, go to the link below to get this stuff up.